What do you think is harder, striking or grappling? Today we are here at what I've heard is like one of the sickest martial arts gyms probably in the US. I haven't been in here yet, and you wouldn't know from the outside of the building. That kind of sounded like a diss to the outside of the building. It's a fine, like inside of this building, there are two different martial arts classes going on, a jiu-jitsu class and a Muay Thai class. And we're gonna put them to the test to figure out which one is harder.
Yo, this is so cool. This place is insanely cool.
Everyone say hi, Seth!
Hey guys. Hi, how are you?
This is insane.
Did you see the dude's bathroom?
No, not yet.
Okay, you gotta see that.
You can come. Knock, knock. Oh, shoot. I've never been so excited to be in a bathroom before. I already sit on the toilet for a long time.
I know.
But
like Bruce is judging your fiber, like.
Well, we're not just here to see Bruce Lee's Porcelain Palace. I asked a question, what's harder, striking or grappling? And you've probably already asked another question yourself. What do you mean by harder?
What do you mean by that?
What do you guys think is harder, grappling or striking?
Wait, harder?
Harder.
More difficult?
Harder. Yes. Well, I want to know a lot of things. What's harder mentally, technique-wise? What's harder to do live? What's harder on the body? What's harder to get started in? What's harder to master? And the main reason I'm here today is what's harder cardiovascularly? I'm going to both do new research today and recount my experiences from the past, along with some special guests, to finally settle once and for all what's harder, striking or grappling. And we should probably start in the beginning. Not like of the story, where people begin in striking or grappling. We're gonna pluck one person from each different style and have them try what the other class is doing. Would you want to try a warm-up in the opposite style?
In the opposite style?
Do you ever feel like moderately interested to try this?
Everybody that joins it, they always love it.
Yeah, that's fair. So he's never tried jiu-jitsu before. Sure. And I want to offer him kind of like something base level to see how well he grasps it.
In grappling, it's like we want to grab someone's head and just like, if we can just mash it into the ground, we're going to do that. This is like what everyone's looking for the most part. So we can kind of like bait our opponent to reach for a collar tie. Once he gets here, I'm going to grab the tricep and over the forearm. And I'm going to use my shoulder as I look toward the Wu-Tang flag to shut that collar tie off. So if I grab on you, you're going to grab the tricep, kind of like here. That's fine. And then this one is gonna come over here. And then you're gonna use your shoulder, come this way, over the top, yeah. And then just keep this grip, and then keep your shoulder on top of my shoulder, and drive down. See, this puts weight on me.
You wanna go first or you want me to go first?
You got it, I don't even remember how to do it.
That's how I am most of the time too. So if you've never grappled before, I'd say some of the hardest parts are keeping good posture, keeping your head, your hips, your shoulders, your knees all in the right position.
Tito, what are we doing?
After that, when it comes to something like this, knowing where to put your hands and how to place them, it's much more difficult than you would think. And then the last difficult part about this is maintaining pressure and understanding leverage of how to move an opponent. It's not easy. Sweet. Okay, so how was that? Easier or harder than striking?
I mean, different.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's different.
Harder to pick up the techniques?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be a little bit harder, yeah.
What's harder to start? Like to get good at in the beginning?
I feel like, I don't know. At the beginning, no, striking for sure, because it's harder to get used to getting hit.
Oh, very true. I didn't think about that.
Don't think about that part, because like if you start and you like immediately start sparring, that's harder to get used to than like being grabbed. Closing your eyes when fists are coming.
I feel like it's hard to be good at grappling. You might be a kid and you throw punches and shit. It's just like,
true.
Hey, let's just fix the way you throw punches.
Right.
I love striking, it's a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
But my brain doesn't pick it up the same way I do grappling. In grappling, you get thrown into the abyss immediately.
Yeah.
No one with zero experience is going to come in and armbar or triangle or rear naked choke the guy with 1 month of experience.
Right.
But 6 months to a year in experience of any sort of striking, and usually when you're a year into learning anything, you have to think about it while you're doing it. So I'm gonna be over here like, I'm gonna do a 1-2, and some other guy with no experience is just like, I'm gonna break this beer bottle over your head.
But nobody's breaking glass over anybody's head here. We do need a new victim, helper, from the grappling portion though. Do you have any striking experience?
No. Perfect. Would you want to come with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, no, when I say no experience, I'm terrible, so.
Heck yeah. Any reason that you chose jiu-jitsu first?
Sure. I did like, probably right at a month without picking up any of it. So
Okay.
Yeah, it's like.
Do you feel like jiu-jitsu is easier to grasp technically then?
Yeah,
okay.
for me.
So we're gonna run through a basic. We'll just go 1, 2, 3. We'll start off with the jab, see how we feel.
As far as the difficulties of striking, coordinating your upper and lower body, very difficult. Next, striking outside of your body's center of balance while also maintaining a structure, much more difficult than people realize. Also, once you make contact with that punch, you have to make sure your joints and muscles are aligned to keep yourself safe while punching somebody else. Lastly, the awareness to keep your defense strong while opening up for punches.
How's the balance feel?
I feel like I'm gonna fall that way. Honestly.
I think that's the hardest part for people when they're getting started is the balance and the footwork.
Okay.
Do you think that the balance is harder in grappling or in this?
I feel pretty good balanced in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe because you're connected with somebody else?
Maybe, yeah.
Overall, what would you say is harder, grappling or striking?
For me, the striking. I've heard that if you're like a good dancer, you'd be good at striking, but I'm not a good dancer, so.
I can't dance either, to be fair.
For me, I started grappling more recently than I started striking. The first time you guys have seen me grapple online was probably with Chris Weidman. What a start. And at this point in the day, I was like 4 or 5 minute rounds in. But being tired exaggerates the issues that you already have. So as you can tell here, I'm having a hard time staying upright. Get locked in a banana split. That's always fun. Having your banana split. I feel like I have a decent understanding of how to move my body and keep other bodies from moving. I have a much worse understanding on how things should technically be done. I fall into traps a lot because I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like I naturally am an okay wrestler. Technically, I'm like a baby reading the dictionary. I don't even know the letters. When it comes to striking, I've done it since I was 3 years old. That I don't remember what was hard back then. I'd say I had the hardest time transitioning to strictly boxing. My background was pretty kick-centric, so changing my body positioning to be able to throw punches more effectively, and also having good punches come from a defensively responsible guard, very difficult. And then some basic technique things, having elbows flare out, unnecessary footwork, pretty common beginner mistakes. I actually have some really cool footage from me working with Tony Jeffries and him fixing some of my stuff. And speaking of Tony Jeffries, by the way, he's recently been transitioning from boxing to grappling. So I figured it'd be interesting to get his opinion on his jiu-jitsu journey.
Mentality-wise, I think striking is harder because someone is trying to knock you out. Now you might be thinking, well, Tony, someone in grappling is trying to choke you. Yes, they are. And when they start choking you, what do? For me, boxing is easy. I know how to breathe. I know how to take a rest. I know when to take a rest. But when I've been grappling, on the other hand, I hold my breath and I try to use all my might and strength and I get exhausted. When you're starting any sport from scratch, it's going to be hard because you're going to use muscles that you've never used before. But don't listen to me. What do I know? Listen to Seth. He'll keep you right.
You don't have to listen to me. Except for one thing. I actually used to teach boxing fitness classes, and it was before I really knew how to box or anything about fitness. And I didn't really know what I was trying to get out of everybody. I wish I had some sort of course where somebody would teach me how to run boxing fitness classes that came with a certification. Oh wait, there is one of those. And our guy, Tony Jeffries, he's the one who runs it. That's right, Tony Jeffries is the sponsor of today's video. I actually do wish I had this course back then though. Let's give a round of applause for Tony. Tony Jeffries, let's go. Friend of the channel, friend of my pocket. No, just kidding. Tony's website, boxingfitness.com, takes you step by step to be able to teach the best boxing fitness classes possible. Level 1 starts you from literally zero boxing knowledge and takes them all the way to the point they can run a full boxing fitness program. I have been at his facility, Box and Burn, and let me tell you, that place is a well-oiled machine. His course allows you to be able to access that kind of knowledge, whether it's through mitt work, it's through getting people into the door, the drills that go with it. This is huge. He's got 100 plus drills that he has video access to. He also helps you build your socials, which, if you didn't know, if nobody walks in the door, you can't make them sweat. You take quizzes at the end of each course so you make sure you know what you're talking about. And then you send in the video footage at the end, which they analyze and give you any tips and pointers on. Level 2 includes more advanced tips, longer drills, combinations, ways to build a team around you so it's not just you doing all the work all the time. Look at how fitness I am. If you think you want to make boxing a part of your livelihood and also a part of your funlyhood, I would recommend this. I think they're fantastic courses to have under your belt along with the certification, which by the way, when I did my boxing class a long time ago, I took a big pay cut because I didn't have a certification. And this is like one of the best recognized certifications you can have. You can trust that whatever Tony Jeffries puts out, it's top quality stuff. If you watched any of his stuff for 7 seconds or you watched him fight, you know he only does the best. So go check it out, link down below, code Seth. Let's move on to how hard it is to be able to do the striking or to do the grappling in a live situation. What's harder to do live?
What do you mean live?
Like sparring or fighting?
100% grappling.
Grappling. Okay. Because striking is like, it's more black and white to me. It makes more sense because you're like, all right, I punch you in the face. Grappling, there's so many like, they could twirl this way or...
Grappling.
Grappling? Yeah.
I started wrestling and then got into striking after, and it still felt easier than just the hell that is grappling. But at the same time, it's like grappling, you can scale it back better. Like, I don't know, man. It's a very tough question to answer.
From my experience, I have to look back at a session I had with Jeff Chan, where we went back and forth sparring between grappling and striking. The reason I use this is because Jeff Chan, frankly, is very good at both. And I think our size difference kind of slightly mitigates the vast amount of experience that he has on it. A little bit. Now, very similarly, in both striking and grappling, when you exchange with somebody else, there are two goals. One, to do what you want to do, and two, to stop what they're doing from happening to you. That doesn't really change between grappling and striking. I don't think specifically either one of them is harder. I had just as hard of a time wrestling Jeff Chan as I did striking Jeff Chan. But looking back at the footage, I didn't take him down, but I did punch him in the head a few times. That happens all the time in striking exchanges. The odds of it happening are much higher than they are being submitted. Those two things are kind of the goal, to hit somebody in the head and to submit them. Does that make them equal? I think you have a higher likelihood of pulling off some sort of upset in striking, which means you have to mind your P's and Q's a bit more. So does that make striking a little bit harder? I'm gonna say a hesitant yes for applying it live. Now, in the middle of this, there's a chance that you notice some of the scuffs and bruises that I have on my legs from defending takedowns, which is the next question. How hard is each discipline on your body?
I think grappling has been harder on my body just because harder on the shoulders and your neck for sure.
Striking.
I think striking too.
Grappling, like I know a lot of like old people.
Yeah.
They don't want to take heavy impacts and they're like, all right, let me do grappling.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah,
like,
right. 100%.
I've gotten injuries like from like when I was training myself in striking. Never gotten an injury from grappling.
Interesting. That is a fair point. You can easily hurt yourself by yourself. Yeah, that's a really interesting point.
I would say kickboxing. I feel like there's more ways for you to get hurt. But I feel like jiu-jitsu, like you see guys get hurt, like they're like away for like a long time. It's like a really bad injury.
Yeah.
Remember I seen dudes get like stretcher off the mat before, like just like rolling. So
Definitely Muay Thai, because like jiu-jitsu is so hard. Don't get me wrong, they're both so hard. But in Muay Thai, the impact is the thing. In jiu-jitsu, there's an easy way to stop everything, right?
The people in the gym have great insight, but I want more numbers. Within the poll, 1,590 people said they've been injured in striking classes. That's 72%. As far as grappling goes, only 1,435 people, or 67%. Now, in striking, the biggest risks of injury are going to be to the obvious ones. The brain, duh. Bones in the face, the small bones within the hands. I think that's probably the most common in fights, at least. In jiu-jitsu, I feel like most of the serious problems come by accident. Weird leg entanglement, somebody falls on top of the other person the wrong way, somebody's shoulder gets smacked out of place. Not really the purpose of wrestling. But because of that, I think when it goes wrong, it's surprising and it goes worse. But I want to get to the main reason I came here today, to see which is harder for your actual heart, your cardiovascular system. So So I've got a heart rate monitor on. We're gonna get a couple rounds in. We're gonna see what it does in the grappling versus the striking, see which one gets your heart rate going a little bit more. Now, I don't really know much about the person I'm gonna be sparring.
This is actually someone who's like trained at the highest level. So like he lived in Thailand. He's on the Fairtex fight team.
Oh shoot.
And then like your main coach is coming up, Wayne Ludwig.
I should have started like a travel YouTube channel or something. Max also has a jiu-jitsu purple belt.
Okay, so in your opinion then, what's harder, striking or grappling?
I think grappling, because like those never-ending chains. With striking, there's usually, to me, I always see like a means to an end. You can control disengagements in space a little bit differently. So like you see so many dudes that are like striking, then they get shot on. And now they're trying to like, but like it has to be like, or then they go to the ground, maybe they're doing too much. They break. Maybe now they've gone from their striking cadence and now they're doing single shots because their breathing is stuck in like that wrestling defense. So like that mixing up like the level changes of like breathing really makes a lot of amateurs like drown themselves. Like they're jumping into that deep end way too soon.
Anytime you spar somebody that has a high output like Max does here, especially as a defensive striker like I would think of myself as, you are going to be on your back foot and having to react. Having to react means that you don't get to decide what's happening next, which elevates your heart rate even more. There's a sense of anxiety that goes along with it. If you pair that with the fact that you're always moving your entire body's worth of weight, you're never like kneeling or on your back or on your side. All pistons are firing at all times. And I could feel it. My heart was thumping. While I might not be immediately fatigued, my heart rate is definitely climbing. The first round saw my heart rate get as high as 205. Very quickly, within 30 or so seconds of this round though, my heart rate would drop to 130. In the second round, I was a bit more tired and didn't move as much. My heart rate only got to 195, which I'll be honest is pretty high. But is it going to be as high as it will in grappling? For me personally, I'm a bigger guy and I think in grappling I can take more breaks. Now, not all grappling is built the same. For me, in sumo, my heart rate goes from 0 to 100 and then back to 0 very fast. There's no time to rest in sumo. In gi jiu-jitsu, there's plenty of time to rest. You get a good hold of something, you sit there, you chill for a bit. In no gi jiu-jitsu like we're doing here, it kind of depends. Can you secure a position that allows you to take a break? Is your opponent squirmy? Because the squirmier they are, the faster my heart beats. It definitely depends on what kind of wrestler you're wrestling and in what grappling aspect. But overall, on average, for me, my heart rate doesn't get as high in grappling. Does that mean it's not as hard? Not really, because the rounds that you would take in grappling are typically longer rounds than you would take in striking. And I think it's because our heart rate gets higher in striking. And your heart can only take so much. I found that out in high school.
I think it can be easier to win in grappling with like certain like aspects of like physicality.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Especially like open level. Like you'll see little guys beat big guys all the time, but like big guys facing big guys. I think that because there's less risk of like traumatic shots to the head and body shots and less shit to make you like psych yourself out, like it's easier to lose in grappling and feel okay with it. Like it's humiliating to get beat up in front of your friends.
Wouldn't recommend starting a YouTube channel then. For my final opinion on what's harder, I don't know, man. Even while I'm filming this, I don't truly have an answer. You can look at like collegiate wrestling and think mentally those guys are going through hell. Like they are known to be of a different breed when it comes to mental toughness. But then on the other hand, the flip side, if you look at Kyokushin, you could say the exact same thing about them. Both of their bodies are going through it. The wear and tear is there. It's to different parts of the body and it's with different intentions, but still. Same thing goes for like Sambo or Muay Thai. I think my answer is going to be if you take the best of the best, they are equally hard. You have to work just as hard in both of them to master it. You have to be incredibly mentally tough. You have to be physically fit. I think striking has a little bit more leniency as far as the styles that fall underneath it, because in order to grapple, you have to fully commit to intertwining yourself with somebody else, unless you're doing Aikido, I guess. So I'm gonna say wrestling's harder, but I don't think it's by much. Now, the real question is, what's harder? Not subscribing or subscribing and getting me to 400,000 subscribers? That's what I want to know. Are you having a hard time not subscribing? Because what else is your excuse?